All right, guys, back to work tonight. One more day left this week. Let's make it count. Non-Farm Friday is right around the corner. It's Thursday evening. It's the second day of December 2021. My name is Joseph, and as always, welcome back to your nightly newsletter. Now, if you're watching for the first time tonight, it's great to have you with me. My job tonight is very important. My job is to help us find the best trades, setting up for not just any Friday, Non-Farm Friday, first Friday of the month of December. Got a great video in store for you guys and gals tonight. Lots of great trades on my radar for tomorrow. I always get excited for Non-Farm Friday because we got one of the biggest news events of the week really early tomorrow morning. So in tonight's video, we'll talk about my favorite trades for Friday's Non-Farm Friday session. We'll also make sure we cover all the stuff I'm looking to avoid tomorrow to help yourself keep yourself out of trouble, whether you're trading on your own or you're trading with us tomorrow in our trade room. As always, before we jump into the video tonight, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. I publish this video every evening with my best trade ideas. I don't want you to miss our next video newsletter, so make sure you subscribe. If you have any questions for me, drop those questions in the comments section. I would love to answer any questions that you might have along the way. And if you enjoy this video as much as I enjoy making it, do me a favor, hit that like button. I appreciate you guys tuning in every evening and spending some time with me every evening on this video newsletter. But let's get this party going here. Friday is right around the corner. Non-Farm Friday. What are we looking at here for tomorrow? Well, I'll tell you, everything is pretty bullish right now. S&P, of course. S&P, you can see here is, if I get my act together, S&P is bullish into a trading range, right? NASDAQ bullish into a trading range. Oil bullish into a trading range. Anytime we have bull markets into trading ranges, what do? We look for support levels below the range and we buy the pullbacks, right? Now, believe it or not, each of these markets, they're all very similar in the sense of bullish into ranges, but each of these markets has a little bit different kind of twist on it, right? The S&P, the technique we'll have to use for the pullback is a little bit different than the technique we'll use on the NASDAQ, and that's going to be a little bit different the technique that we use on the oil. Again, they're all bullish into ranges right now, but you'll see when I go through each chart why the actual entry setups are going to be actually different on each of these markets. Now, of course, we also have potential for some breakouts, but I'll tell you, the S&P and the NASDAQ both have a lot of open space above them. So does oil, right? Oil looks quite peppy as we go into the Asian session open for Friday morning. So lot of potential for breakouts. You know me, I've got a number of different breakout patterns I always look for. So we'll talk about the breakout patterns I'm looking for on each of these markets here tonight. And of course, it wouldn't be my video newsletter if we didn't talk about reversals. We definitely do have reversals in striking distance. I'll tell you right now, the S&P and the oil have what I think to be pretty easy potential for a reversal. I think oil probably has the best potential for a reversal. The NASDAQ, I don't know. The NASDAQ, you'll see when I get into the chart tonight. You'll see why it might not be easy to be a seller on the NQ4 tomorrow. Not to worry. I'm going to go into all the details, and you guys will learn all the good stuff tonight as we go deeper into this video. Now, tomorrow, Friday morning, end of the week, big news. Let's make sure we're all on the same page here because we got there's some big news coming tomorrow, of course, at 8:30 Eastern time. Now, you could argue that this non-farm payroll number might be the most important news of the week. You could also argue that the incredible volatility we saw Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday could all really be just one big lead up into people kind of anticipating that this employment number might be the last kind of signal the Fed needs to start to aggressively start to raise rates and kind of get their tapering going as they've been talking about, right? So we know that the Fed is obsessed with employment numbers right now. That's kind of they already got the inflation thing taken care of, right? Now they're waiting for the employment, the employment market to kind of come back to life here, and they're watching that closely. We also know the markets have been obsessed with the Fed, right? So the Fed is obsessed with jobs right now. The markets are obsessed with the Fed. This could easily be kind of the big catalyst everyone's waiting for for here tomorrow. Now, what you got to keep in mind as we go into this news for tomorrow is a lot of times the overnight session, Asia into London, a lot of times the overnight session is pretty darn slow just because everybody's waiting to see what's going to happen at that 8:30 employment number. Now, hopefully I'm wrong. I thought today was going to be pretty slow as kind of a little bit of a break before the action, and I was way wrong about that last night, right? So I could be wrong tonight. This could be a very active overnight session. I hope I'm wrong, especially if you're in Asia, if you're in Europe. But hey, if we're not getting a lot of personality, if we're not getting good consistency in the price action overnight, what they're waiting on. If we get good personality overnight, then jump on, right? Get on it, because you can definitely trade it if it's moving overnight. Just be aware though, we do oftentimes see a bit of a slowdown leading up to that employment number. And then usually what I'll do is I'll usually give it about 10 minutes after that number comes out, right? So 8:40-ish, 8:45-ish, we'll start to have a good idea of kind of what the market thinks about this news. We'll update our charts tomorrow morning in our trade room, and we'll trade the reaction, right? We're not going to gamble on the news. There's no way of knowing. You can anticipate what the news will be, but it's very difficult to anticipate how the market will react to that news. So we'll give it about 10 minutes after the news comes out tomorrow, and then we'll get after it tomorrow morning in our trade room. I wouldn't worry too much about the ISM or the factory orders here at 10 o'clock. Everybody's looking at that employment number here tomorrow morning. Now, of course, don't forget, 8 o'clock Eastern time, every morning we get together in our trade room. We're going to have a front row seat for that employment number. What I'll do is I'll put all of any links I talk about tonight in this video, I'll put them all below this video in the description, or if you're on the website right now, there'll be a big button for you. I'll put a link down there to come out and join me tomorrow morning and every morning in our trade room as a member. So grab that link and I'll see you tomorrow morning, and we'll trade this stuff together. Back to our charts though here, right? We all know what everyone's looking at here for tomorrow. S&P, NASDAQ, crude oil, they're all bullish. They're all ranging. They all have a little bit of a twist, right? So let's jump right into it here. Let's start off with the S&P here first. The first one of three markets we'll cover here tonight in this video. And as you can see, right, we get our measured move going higher. That turns into a trading range. And so we basically have a bull market, right, into a range here. Now, as we pull back, right, basically what you want to think about, right, you want to think about buying on the pullback, and you want to think about buying on the breakout. If the pullback can hold, this could easily turn into a reversal because you have all of this wide open space down below us and a big juicy 4,500 big round number. And let's not forget too, a big look at this. Look at that strength. That's why I say the S&P is definitely potential for a reversal. We'll see if we get the reversal to hold though. We'll see if the pullback can actually hold. So how do we buy it? How do we sell it? How do we trade the breakouts? Here's basically what I'll be looking for here tomorrow. If we pull back, as we pull back right now, right? If we pull back right now, our biggest threat is going to be this falling resistance trend line, basically, right? That'll be our biggest threat. When that happens, you have to get up and over it. You got to get up and over it and use it. And so that's going to be the technique we'll have to look at. Remember, each of these three markets has a little bit different spin on the pullback. And you'll see why I say that here in a second, right? So we draw that trend line right down overhead. Let's say, for example, the market pulls back into an area of support, right? Prior swing, beautiful channel area right here. Love this area here. The hard part, of course, is going to be this trend line. So what do? We have to get this thing again to go up and over. What I'll be looking for is something like a failure that comes up, over, and I'll tell you right now, what would really make me really happy is if we could get a little trap right off that trend line. That would really be, and if you look closely, if you're a client of mine, you know, right, it's kind of a 2-try failure there with that trap. But the key is going to be up and over, up and over. I want you to repeat that in your sleep tonight, up and over. I say that because what you got to be careful with in these is when it goes up and grinds. The grinds are difficult. You want it to go up and over and then grab it from there, right? You want to almost see some daylight in between the trend line and those candlesticks. And I'll tell you, if I can get a trap in there, beautiful. That's the type of entry that we want as we're going. And then remember, trade the turn, right? Trade the turn. So as we go higher here, we might get a really nice follow-up on this, mark up a new trend line off those highs, right? Find a new channel here, grab that low again, right? Grab that low again, grab your trap, grab your buyer failure, right? Get the bears to try to short this thing back into that range, get that buyer failure and that pullback combination, right? This is a really nice, I like this sequence right here, right? So buying at support below the range, and then again, finding that new channel as we go higher. And as we always say, right? First test is the best test. Get that first pullback off that channel low. Now, what if we pull back? How do we sell it? How do we sell it? Well, here's the trick. The key is they have to hold, right? Like, see what happened back here? See what happened back here, right? They get underneath the moving average. They can't hold. So we get down into this area now. Now the sellers have to actually hold. Let's say now we roll over, right? Now we roll over now. Now we have that trend line coming down. The bears go, giddy up. Let's do this. And they hold that pullback now. Remember, guys, it doesn't matter how strong the pullback leg is. That doesn't matter. What matters is how strong the jump off the moving average is. If they can't, it's going to end up coming up and over again, most likely, right, for that move going higher. So you want to see that move down. We want to see them hold that pullback, right, and then jump off that moving average. Again, got to really pop. Okay, none of this like this over here, right? We pull back, they try. No, it's got to pop. It's got to hold, right? Now, if they can hold it, we drill down to our faster time frame. This is a 9,000 tick chart. We drill down, we mark up that low, we mark up that high, and we find any of our favorite price action entries off the high of that channel. Now, my two favorites off that high will be two-legged pullbacks, bull traps or trap setups, right? And buyer failures. Now, I'm not going to go into all those details here tonight. We'd be here for a couple hours more on this video. What I will do, though, is I'll talk all about the entry techniques. I have hundreds of examples of my favorite price action setups, right from our trade room, right inside of our free quick start class. I'll put a little link up here for you in the upper right-hand corner. If you're serious about your trading, that quick start class will give you a roadmap to follow, the same roadmap we use in our trade room to find the 3, 4, 5 best setups every day. If you're trying to earn consistent income in these markets, that free class, that free quick start class will definitely give you a methodology to follow. So that's how you want to sell this thing, right? We drive lower, we hold the pullback, right? And we go. Now, there's a couple more reversals that I have up my sleeve. I'm going to talk about those as we go later on in the video. We'll talk about a few more reversal patterns on the oil chart, all right, towards the end. So make sure you stick around for that. Where do the bears want to get to if they can take control? Yeah, that 4,500, easy pickings. And again, remember from last night's newsletter, that strong move down, right? If this thing falls apart here, you know where they want to go. They want to go right back to that low, right? It's an easy objective for those bears if they can take control. Okay, how about we go higher? If we go higher right now, you really can't sell into it. There's just too much potential for a short squeeze to go back up to these highs. That's why I say there's a lot open space up here. Look at that open space up there for those buyers, right? 4650 seems like an easy target if these buyers can get this puppy pumping here and go higher here. So I definitely wouldn't try to sell this as you go higher because, again, there's just too much potential for this vacuum to right back up, right, and kind of slam it right back up here. Definitely don't feel like fighting that short squeeze as we try to pick a top in this, what could be a very strong, bull run. Let me take off this channel here for a second. Let's talk about a couple breakout patterns. The one that I think is most likely for a breakout, and there are really 4 different types of breakout patterns. Here's one of them to keep your eyes on for tomorrow. One would be to see a strong run up, a shallow pullback, a higher high in price, and a trap. Right? That trap, right? Remember, strong move up, Shallow pullback is the key. The shallow pullback drives everybody crazy because nobody can get on it. Then the higher high basically confirms we're not just a V-top, right? We're not just a V-top. Right? Because that happens all the time, right? You'll see the market pump up and come right back down again. So strong move up, shallow pullback, higher high in price, trap. And remember, extra bonus points if you can combine that trap off the low of a new channel. Okay, keep that on your radar for tomorrow. Now, that's just one of the many potential bull breakouts we can look for here tomorrow. I'm going to cover some more here as we go into the NASDAQ and on the oil. So stick with me here. And again, if you haven't grabbed that quick start class yet, now's your chance. Pause the video, grab that class, get registered, check your email, because I'm going to send you that first lesson in the quick start course. All right, let me get that channel back on again, and we will be set to go here. Let's keep rolling. How about some NASDAQ for tomorrow? NASDAQ, again, much like the S&P, we're definitely bullish. Okay, this one's kind of interesting though. Look what we have here in this one. Let me get this thing cleaned up here a little bit. Right? What I find very interesting is, we talked about this last night. We have this big bear move down. And like I mentioned last night, right? Anytime we see a strong move in one direction, we expect a retest of the low. Anytime we see that much movement in one day, we expect a range. And we pretty much got both of those the following day. What I thought was really interesting is the fact that you can clearly see now the buyers have basically staked their claim in this market, right? We rotate. Remember, markets love to rotate. Lower, higher, right? They go up. Why aren't we coming back down again? That's the giveaway, right? Oftentimes, it's what doesn't happen that is usually one of the biggest clues that we can get when it comes to price action trading. So it's pretty clear the buyers are pretty much pinned right at these highs right now. And this is pretty common. You see big ranges start to break off into small ranges. And of course, that is very similar to the S&P 500 in the sense that I do want to buy the pullback here. I also, of course, right, would love to buy a breakout. This NASDAQ, just the S&P, has a ton of open space above us. And again, as we go higher here, you're not going to want to fight the potential of a short squeeze. And remember, as we mentioned last night on the video, there is a ton of volume right around that 1630, 16250, right? If you're a market profile theorist, right? You got to think there's a huge amount of volume piled up right there, and they would love to go right back into this area here. So definitely don't feel like fighting that battle. I'm not dying on that hill tomorrow, right? So I'm not looking to short this thing if we do go higher. And honestly, if there's one market right now that really doesn't have an easy way to get short, the S&P I think is easy, relatively speaking. This one, I don't know, because by the time we get this thing to come, by the time we get enough momentum here, where does that put me? It puts me right in the low of the range. I don't want to sell down there. The S&P again, given we get the reversal we need, you can make money on that S&P reversal without picking the top. You literally have to pick the top on this market right now, or just float the idea of selling into this pullback right now, which is just very unreliable, right? Very not the most dependable trade in the world. So I'm really not that keen on the sell side here right now. I could definitely be convinced otherwise, but it would take quite a substantial, but they'd have to push it and hold, right? And really show me some strength going lower here. Okay. Now, we talked about this earlier. There's a little twist, right, on each of these markets. As we pull back right now, my biggest concern as we pull back is now we're inside of this range. We're right in the middle. And if there's one thing I know about ranges, when you're in the middle of that range, you've got buyers buying off the low, you got sellers selling off the high, right? Everything's flying all over the place. It's a pretty messy place to be trading. So what's the best way to avoid that mess? You got to anticipate those bears coming in. Now think about that same problem, right, that we have on the S&P, that trend line coming down. But honestly, that trend line really isn't the big problem. The big problem is we've got to get these bears to come in and try a couple times at these lows. Now let's talk about this because there's a couple different ways you can take these entries. What I want is I want these bears to try twice down in and around this area here. Here's a couple ways to think about it. One would be we go up 1, 2, and trap. That would probably be the best, right? Probably the best way to do it on the pullback. Chances are that'll also help us avoid that trend line coming down. Another way to do it, if we do pull back a little bit, right, is to get something like this, where we go 1, we go 2, there's a trend line now coming in, and we can buy off it, right? We can buy off it like that. We're trying to get these bears to try twice here because we're trying to absorb the potential run. Again, the natural tendency for a market to want to rotate back and forth to the other side of that channel or other side of this triangle in this example. So I do want to see at least 2 tries here for the bears. We do oftentimes see situations where it'll run lower, it'll spike back up and do something like that. If that happens, just wait for that trap, focus on getting in underneath the trading range. There's your 1, there's your 2, and back up. And then just like we talked about on the S&P, don't forget to trade the turn, right? This can also apply to the S&P as well, right? Measure the amount below the range, project that amount above the range. That's your next target. Okay, so now find that new channel off that high, find that or find that trend line off the high, find that new channel, drill it on down. Again, this is a 5,000 tick chart right now. You will not be trading a 5,000 tick chart in this tomorrow in the trade room, right? We'll look at that again, 2 try failure, and then as I always say, right, find one of those price action setups we talk about in the quick start course. Maybe it's a trap. Maybe a 2-legged pullback. Maybe it's a seller failure pattern, but you want to get that entry, and you'll learn more about that right in the video class I mentioned earlier off that first test. Don't worry so much about where you are because the market wants to get that pendulum swung, right? It wants to finish off that snap as we go here. That is definitely on my radar here for the NASDAQ. And then what do you think? How would I sell this market tomorrow? This is the thing that is probably the most difficult part of tonight's lesson. How do we sell this thing as we go lower? Now on the S&P, I would say let's get down, right? Let's get into some support. Let's get those bears to show us they mean it, and let's go lower here. But again, that's not going to help us out very much. All we're doing at that point now is we're just simply selling right into that low. I'm a big believer that if you have enough momentum, you can probably get some money out of that short. But it just seems like that's a tough one. That's a tough one. Not exactly my favorite trade in the world. What I would really want to see on this one. Remember we talked about that kind of pop and grind, right? That kind of pop and that grind like that. Yeah, that would be the one that would really kind of solidify this, because when it grinds like that, when it starts to grind like that, it just I'm trying to think. It's almost like it almost confirms the entire move, right? Because you can tell buyers are getting out, bears are holding it. At that point, mark up those lows, mark up those highs, find those traps. Like that's going to be a good entry as we go lower. Or maybe it punches lower. Maybe they hold the pullback, right, and they just jam, right? And they really run. I mean, again, if there's enough strength coming off of this low, where's the next objective? The next objective of the NASDAQ is right around that 15,970 half. Call it 15,600, right? So what I'd like to see is the pop down, the grind, right? Grab that low, grab that high, mark up those traps. Traps are always your best bet whenever you're worried about selling short. And then let's say they jam off that low, right? They really punch real strong through those lows there. Now we're on. Now mark up that low, mark up that high. It's the first test right off the high of that channel. So definitely would like to see some sort of trap entry on the way down. And then again, if they can hold it with kind of that 1, 2, 3 push, again, remember, they have to hold it, right? They got to hold it. We can't just get a real strong move down. They got to hold it and actually push through that low, and that'll give us the evidence we need that now we're rotating right down to that next level. How do we go higher here? Looking good, right? How do we go higher here? I got a little more that I want to cover here, but I'll save that tomorrow for our trade room as far as targets go. How do we buy this thing going higher? Well, we talked about again. I don't want to fight this thing. How do we buy this as it goes higher here? We talked about that two try breakout, right? The strong move up, the shallow pullback, the higher high in price. Again, that is very, very likely on this NASDAQ because of the potential for a short squeeze, right? So strong move up, shallow pullback, higher high, traps. If you can grab a channel, great. If you can't, not a big deal, right? Definitely not a big deal, but channels certainly add another layer of confidence to those trades. Another one here would be that two-try breakout, right? Oh, sorry, that 1, 2, 3 breakout, right? So we pop up, we hold the pullback, we jump off the moving average. Okay, now we've seen a couple of these, right? Pop up, hold, no, didn't do it there. Pop up, didn't do it there, right? So they have to pop, get that new higher high, and then hold that pullback and jump. If they can hold that pullback and jump, we now know the first touch of this channel is electric, right? Maybe it's a trap below that low, one of my favorites. Maybe it's a failure setup into a pullback combination, right? Trap, failure, pullback. Maybe we jump up and we two-legged pullback on the way down, right? And we go up and over at the low of that channel. You know what I'm saying, right? So let's say we go, zoom in on that area right there. That two-legged pullback technique we talked about on the E-mini S&P earlier. Remember, if we can get that pop, that hold, and that jump, that'll be enough for us. Whichever one of the entry patterns we get off that low, that's where the money is right there. I'm not a real big believer in trying to predict that breakout because you can see there's a lot of breakouts that look very, very convincing, but they have to hold that pullback, right? If they can hold it and go, yeah, now we're talking, right? Now we're talking. So we've talked about a couple breakouts going higher here. Let's do one more on the oil. Where do the buyers want to get to? The buyers, again, that 16,400, 16,450 area. That's just an easy magnet up there. And again, right, look at all the range. Look at that range right there. It's just begging this thing to rip up to that area here. All right, so NASDAQ looking very bullish here right now. We'll see. We'll see what they do here in the overnight. How about some oil? Oil looks pretty darn peppy. It definitely does. Oil looks pretty bullish right now. You can see as we open up in Asia here tonight, they're completing their measured move. As you can see, the oil, of course, kind of what we talked about. Again, we finished up the day yesterday. Remember, we talked about how anytime we see a strong move, expect a retest of that low. We talked about how that second leg could be the measuring leg. We talked about this last night. So we pretty much got what we anticipated on the oil. Now, as you can see, look what happened here. You see what happened here? Look. Pop up, grind. Can you guess? Can anybody guess what they wanted to buy on that? Yeah, they want to buy right there. Yeah, of course they do. Is there any surprise? Is anybody surprised about that? Wait, that pattern looks very familiar. That pattern looks, it does, doesn't it? Anyways, all kidding aside though, we definitely can see the buyers took it higher. They got what they wanted, right? They got their pullback. And now, as always, as we mentioned earlier this week, the first leg, remember I told you guys earlier this week in the newsletter, the first leg is the one you want to pay attention to. The middle leg is oftentimes kind of the oddball, and there's your measured move right now. So boy, talk about, again, we're very bullish right now. There's no doubt about that. We are right at the major turning point right here. If these buyers can keep this party going, it seems like 70 should be a given. If the buyers can keep this thing going, it seems like 70 should be a given. 70 should be pretty easy. I would imagine 72, 73. If you look a little bit bigger picture, 74, 75 is in the cards, but that would be a $7 move though. I don't know. It's possible. We went $5 today. Look, right? 62. 43 to, I mean, look at that. That's a $5 move today. That's not too shabby, but a $5 move on oil tomorrow, definitely possible. Seems a little bit unrealistic. We'll see. We'll see. But I think 72, right, is definitely within striking distance. Anything more than that would be I'd be impressed. But we definitely feel very bullish right now here on the oil. Now, oil has a ton of potential to go higher here, but I'll tell you, if there's one market, this is the market that has the potential to reverse. And it's because of really one of my favorite reversal patterns, which is called a slingshot reversal. Now, we saw a ton of these this summer. Not so much the last few months. We saw a ton of these this summer. And basically, a slingshot reversal, if you understand how ranges work, right, is my bull market, of course, right, into a range. This is a triangle, as you can see. And so we've got the market now rotating, right? High to low, low to high, high to low. Now, as this market, again, if it comes back down again, right, and we know we're bullish into a range, so buyers are going to want to buy off that low, right? But what's the biggest problem right now? Remember, there's two kind of questions that you always want to ask. How's my momentum and how's my location? Okay, how is momentum? And how is my location? If I buy down here, how's my location? Beautiful, right? We're at support, below the range, trend line. I mean, that's a gorgeous location. What's my problem though? Momentum. Why? Because we're rotating down off the high. This is where a slingshot breakout can easily come into play. As if we rotate down off of that high, imagine now that sellers get, imagine the buyers now get steamrolled and it keeps on going. That could easily happen. We see a lot of these 1, 2 reversals, right, into first channel tests for that short, back down to retest those major lows. We see a lot of these slingshots. They pop down, they grind, kind of like we saw over here. We mark up that low, mark up that high, right? We find that trap, that buyer failure, that pullback combination. Again, pardon my squigglies right now, right? You'll see a lot of examples of how we apply these setups to our favorite markets from our trade room in that free quick start class. Again, if you can grab that link in the upper right hand corner, now's your chance to do it here. We may see a really strong reversal run, right? Nice strong move down. We see that shallow pullback, that lower low in price, right? That's an easy trade to take as well, right? So the key is if this thing rolls off that high, right? That's why I said earlier, if there's one market right now that has potential to reverse, this is it. This is definitely it. Do I think it's going to reverse? It doesn't feel like that's going to happen right now. There's a whole lot of momentum right now. But hey, that would be how I would look to trade this reversal. Would I try to sell off this high right now? Not a chance. Nope. Not into this of a move, right? Way too much bullishness here. You got Friday's close right above you. You'll be amazed how many times last week's closing price, we end up right back there again at some point the following Friday. The S&P's there right now. The NASDAQ's there right now. This is not the battle to die on here, trying to short this thing right now. And again, if they keep going higher. So how do I buy it as it pulls back? How do I buy it if it pulls back? If it pulls back, what's the problem again? Momentum. How do we deal with momentum? 2 tries, right? We give the bears 1 shot. We give them 2 shots. We look for, do I get that trap? Beautiful. Maybe I get that trend line, just as good, right? The key though is you want to give those bears the benefit of the doubt, right? Like back here, strong move down. We let them try once, we let them try twice, and we buy into stops from there. All those stops are sitting right there, and once those bears realize they're wrong, the price rips and runs back higher. It's the same idea over here. So as we go lower, like I mentioned, the NASDAQ, think about if it really kind of V-bottoms like that. There's your trap right there. And if I can give you one kind of tip on that between you, me, and the rest of YouTube, right? Strong move down, let's say they come and they V-bottom right back up and then snap back up like that. Okay, mark up that low and then draw a trend line off that high. off that low, you got it, right? And then bingo, there's your entry right there, right? So 1, 2, little trapola, right? Maybe it's a trap, maybe it's not, right? You always want to make sure you're buying off some area of support, right? And then don't forget, trade the turn, right? Trade the turn. Mark up that high. You know where the market wants to go now. They want to go back and take out that pendulum swing, symmetrical move, right? You know where it wants to go now. So now find a way in on that first pullback and leave a runner on that for sure, right? So again, your 2-try failure, and again, this could be a 2-legged pullback, could be a bear trap, right? Could be a buyer, could be a seller failure, right? You'll know more about that once you grab the video course I mentioned earlier. I'm not going to go over all that stuff here tonight on this video, right? But that's the general idea of kind of how I want to trade this thing, how to buy it, right? As we pull back, and again, there's a good chance if it pulls back, it may just keep on going, right? So we're definitely going to keep an eye on that here. You may also notice too, I've got this potential spike in channel here. Now let's see who's paying attention during this week's videos. We mentioned earlier, right? There are 3 types of pullbacks, right? What was it again? Right? Let me give me a thumbs up if you guys remember, or let me know. Let me know in the comment section. 3 pullbacks, right? Shallow pullback, trap. Modest pullback, failure. Deep pullback, 2-try failure. What'll this be? It'll be a modest pullback, trap. Yep, exactly right. So if we pull back to that trend line right now and we don't complete the full rotation, what do? You go 1, you go 2, and you trap in those bears, right? You trap in those bears, right? They run it up, they go pumping higher, you find that trap entry, right? You want that trap if it's a shallow pullback, right? If it's a deeper pullback, like we're gonna have to get, it's a 2-try down there, right? Makes sense? All right. Well, now we're getting somewhere. So if we see a shallow pullback here, grab that trap, and don't be afraid of that one. Just make sure you look for that pattern setup, right? So we go up, we pull back, we go up, we pull back, we get underneath the moving average, right? Bears once, bears twice, trap, and go from there. Okay. How do we trade this as we go higher? As we go higher here. Again, you have to think 70 is on our radar. Yeah, there's a high right there at 69.5, but in all reality, if you want to know kind of my view on this is basically one big spike in channel coming down. And if there's one thing we know about spike in channels, you're going to have a ton of sellers hanging out around that 70 area. Right, it's basically one. If you look at the chart in the big picture, it's one big like this right now, right? And so if you know spike in channels, you know that where are the bears? The bears are hanging out right above these areas, right? That's 74, right? That's 74. That's 72. I'm giving rough numbers here, right? But that trap area, right? That's 70. Give or take a couple ticks there, right? That trap area, that's why I say 70 should be relatively easy, right? If these buyers keep it going. That's why I also think that 72 could be in the cards, and 74, again, that would be like a $7 move tomorrow, which I'd be impressed, right? So as we go higher here, I would imagine this high up here, right? That 69.5, that 70 area. How do we buy it as we go higher? Same like any other breakout that we've talked about so far today, right? Let's say, for example, that we pull back and we jump off the moving average, right? Yeah, they didn't do it there. Right? So 1, 2, 3 breakout. Mark the high, mark the low, drill down to your faster time frame. Maybe that's a 2-legged pullback, right? Maybe it's a bear trap, a seller failure, right? Get a below the moving average. Either way, first test is the best test. Maybe we see it continue going higher here, right? Keeps going higher. Shallow pullback, higher high in price. Traps, baby. That's the money trade right there. If I can get off the top of that little trend line right there, even better, right? Even better. Mark up all those prior highs. That's a great entry right there. Or maybe we get another one of these doozies, right? Maybe they push up, they kind of pop and start to grind. You know the drill. Mark up that high, mark up that low, find that trap. get underneath the moving average, trapping those bears, trying to get short with a failure into pullback, right? And again, we're looking for, what was it again? It's the size of that leg, right? It's the first leg. The first leg is the one you want to pay attention to. Just like this one right here, right? First leg. Okay, second leg is always a variable, but you know that first leg right there, that's going to tell you where it wants to go. It's very, very accurate, right? A lot of times you'll see these 1, 2, 3-legged moves like that, right? Where this leg and this leg is very similar. This one's the oddball, right? That's the oddball. Okay, that'll give you a little bit of an idea there as we go higher here. Again, don't fight direction and don't fight overnight either. I think that's one of the most important things here. Again, tomorrow's not your average Friday. It's non-farm Friday, and there definitely is. Again, you have to think it's all tied together here right now with the Fed. So don't fight things overnight. If we're moving, if we get some good momentum overnight, then great. Good personality, then great, trade it. But if it's not, you know what they're waiting on, right? Tomorrow morning, 8 o'clock Eastern time, you better come out and join us. Again, I'll put all the membership links you guys need, all the free class, quick start class links in the description of the YouTube video. Make sure you grab that quick start class, learn the 3-step strategy. That'll give you the roadmap that we use in the trade room. And then, of course, I'll see in the trade room to kind of help you refine those skills, right, and get the consistency that I know you all want. If you have any questions, don't be afraid to call the office. I'm always here to help. You can always drop a comment in the comments section. We have live chat, of course, on the left, live chat on the right. You can pretty much fall off a horse, hit a live chat on our website. So don't be afraid to holler at us on the live chat or call if you have any questions about brokers or data or whatever the questions might be along the way. Guys and gals, we covered a lot in tonight's video. Thank you so much for sticking around all the way to the end. Get some rest tonight, and I'll see you tomorrow morning at the opening bell. If not, we don't do the newsletter on Fridays. We'll see you guys same time, same place next week for the second week of the month of December. If I don't see you guys tomorrow morning, have a great, great Friday. Kick some butt out there, and enjoy your weekend. We'll see you guys on Monday's nightly newsletter. My name is Joseph. Be well out there. Be nice to each other, will ya? And be here next time. Adios, amigos. Bye-bye for now.